Noah, shush. Shush. Hi guys, Jackie M here. Give me 2 seconds. I'm running a concurrent broadcast today, so it will take me a couple of minutes to just set up and Noah, shush, shush. For those of you who are joining me for the first time, my name is Jackie M, and I am a Malaysian professional cook. Used to have a restaurant here in Sydney, Australia. Born and raised in Malaysia, and now I'm based in Sydney. And if you can hear the whining in the background, that's my son Noah. He's a toddler and he has Down syndrome. So he's a little bit hungry, so I'm going to try and rush through this because this is going to be our lunch today. Okay. So just give me a second, and I'm going to be doing what we call variously kuih tiao in Malaysia. We call it kuih tiao. In Chinese, usually Cantonese, they call it hor fun, and in English you can call it rice flour rolls or rice noodles, fresh rice noodles, all that kind of stuff. Okay. Like I said, I really apologize about Noah whining because he's really, really hungry, and I'm trying to speed this through so that we can get this going. Noah, shush, shush. Okay, so very, very simple recipe. I'm going to turn the steamer on. And before I get started, I want to give a quick shout out to Lenovo Australia, who supplied me with the laptops. I'm using 2 laptops today to do my broadcast from. One is the Lenovo gaming laptop, which is the Y700, and the other one is my Yoga X, my ThinkPad X1 Yoga. Right, and I want to give a shout out to Rode microphones, and I use Rode microphones in both broadcasts as well. If you're watching this from Facebook, I should be able to see some of your comments come through. Yeah, hopefully. So if you've got any questions, hit me up. If I don't answer your questions during this broadcast, I'll try and get to them after the broadcast by replying to your comment there or addressing them in a future broadcast, right? Noah, I'm just going to go and run over and grab him something to eat just to keep him quiet a little bit, okay? Okay, rice noodles, right? This is something you can get quite easily here in Australia, but assuming you can't get hold of it, I'm just tearing off bits of this homemade bread for him. Assuming you can't get it, you can actually make it quite easily. You need a couple of ingredients. Primarily, you need rice flour. This is what it looks like. I'll just come up close to show you. Okay. So it is rice flour, right? Certainly here in Australia, you should be able to find this not just at Asian grocery stores, but at some better stocked supermarkets as well. The other ingredient you want is tapioca flour. Tapioca flour, I've got it in the jar so you can't see it, but usually it will come in a pack like this, same brand, but with a blue, basically label, right? Blue writing. And Noah, here you go. In the absence of, this happens all the time. I'm wearing a pair of slippers that keep breaking up every time I do my broadcast for whatever reason. If you don't have tapioca flour, get corn flour, cornstarch, right? That should pretty much do the same thing. And I've just got some oil over here, and I need a brush, oil brush. So give me a second while I go and grab that. And also today, guys, I'm using a steamer, right? And this is my Sunbeam steamer. If you can see it, it's just a tabletop steamer, and I just hook it to a PowerPoint, and which basically saves me on having to take up stove space with it, right? So this is just steaming up, and I've got a round steaming tray in here as well. Pick this up at Cabramatta. For those of you who live in Sydney, Cabramatta is basically a suburb here in Sydney that has a high concentration of Southeast Asians, predominantly Indo-Chinese, like the Vietnamese, Thai, Vietnamese, Laotians, and Cambodians, right? So you can pretty much find most of the stuff I use in my cooking. You should be able to find them in Cabramatta. And I'm using my thermocook just to mix up the batter for this, right? And I've got a pair of scales over here. And of course, if you don't have a thermocook or whatever, you don't need one, right? I'm just using this because it functions as a blender. So you just want to throw the ingredients in the blender or even in a dough mixer like this and just whisk it up, okay? That's all you want to do. And I've done this broadcast before doing a version where I microwave the rice flour rolls, right? But today I'm actually using a steamer. And the other thing I'm changing as well, I've also done this broadcast on television before on Malaysia Kitchen with Alvin Hua, but I'm tweaking the recipe a little bit today, right? I'm just gonna try and produce a more delicate product, right? Okay, it will take you a couple of goes to kind of like get it to the right thickness and consistency you want. So just play around with it. So I'm putting the rice flour in here, just weighing it as I go. And this particular recipe I'm using is actually the same recipe in one of my previous posts. This was from Thailand when I was in Chiang Mai, and the Shangri-La Hotel in Chiang Mai, the chef there basically, and I'm adding a couple of tablespoons of tapioca starch to this. The Shangri-La Chiang Mai chef made all these beautiful royal delicacies, basically Thai delicacies that are specifically for the royal household or were invented for the royal household. And this is actually, this particular ratio of rice flour to tapioca flour to water is actually derived from the dumpling skin of one of the recipes. Okay, so I'm gonna do that and see how it turns out. So I just want to blend this quickly just to mix it up. Okay, so what I've got here is just basically like a slurry mix. I'll just tip it back in here so you can see what it looks like. So you can see it's very, very runny. Okay, it's just the batter that we're going to use for the rice flour rolls. And I've done in the past, basically I've done other recipes in the past where I actually added oil in there. I'm going to leave it out today, see how it turns out. I'm always tweaking recipes and all that, right? So this is heating up very, very quickly. And if you want, you can put a pinch of salt in the mixture as well. It's quite funny. Okay, yeah, by the way, for those of you who watched that broadcast I did in the last week or so, and for those of you who don't know, right, I do these broadcasts on weekdays, every weekday, yeah, and they aren't always on Facebook. They aren't always broadcast directly onto Facebook, but they will be shared on Facebook. So if you're watching this from anywhere else, facebook.com/JackieMFood is where you would usually find me. And if you want my recipes, go and visit jackiem.com.au. All the recipes get posted there within a couple of days. And also, if you go and sign up to my newsletter, you get weekly updates on all the recipes I've posted, apart from other things as well, okay? No eat? Okay, you want to eat? Here you go, here you go. Goodbye. Okay. And for those of you watching on YouTube, YouTube is where I usually get the most badass, hardcore comments, right? For those of you watching on YouTube, I know you're used to short, edited, cute little videos that have lots of text overlays and show you all the everything condensed, right? This is not one of those. If you're expecting to see this done within 3 minutes, it's not going to happen. So go away, come back, or don't watch it at all, rather than giving me thumbs downs and complaining about me talking too much, because I'm actually cooking this live from start to finish. So however long it takes for it to happen, I'm just going to be talking as I go through it. Okay, so this is hot enough, right? The water is boiling. I'm just going to turn it down because I don't want it to be boiling too rapidly. And what I want to do, I'm just going to take this out because I'm going to show you what I want to do. Now, the most fundamental thing for this, well, one of the most fundamental points about making this, right, is that you have a level surface to work with, okay? So I'm just going to pour, let's see, you want as thin a layer as possible. Obviously, it's to personal preference, right? So I've got a layer of batter here, and I'm going to put it in. It hasn't completely coated the surface of the pan, and we'll see if that amount works okay. So what I've done, basically the batter is just enough to coat most of the surface, but not completely. What I want to do is let it set a little bit. So leave it in there for a few seconds, and then just twirl it around before it completely sets, so that the entire surface area gets coated. And by the way, if you notice, before I did oil the base of the pan quite well before I poured the dough mixture, okay, the batter. Okay. Sweetie, here you go. You drink? No? Okay, you want to come down? You want to come down? You don't want to come down? Okay, so you want to steam this for probably about, until it's done, but usually I say a minute. If I were microwaving it, I would microwave for a minute, okay? Steaming this might be a little bit faster. We'll see how it turns out. Now, the rice flour rolls, ideally you actually want a square pan, right? Or a rectangular pan, because then you will get rolls that turn out like sheets, and then you can cut them up properly. Obviously, in a round pan, you're going to have, if you were to roll it up, you're going to have, like, you know, obviously a section that's going to be thicker than the others. But most steamers, most Australian steamers, most steamers anywhere, household steamers aren't really, you know, conducive to you putting a sizable square pan in. Okay, so let's see how this turned out. Usually the first couple of attempts are going to be a little bit dodgy, all right? So this is it. I'm just going to turn this right down while I try and roll it up, okay? This is very, very delicate, so I might have to, in fact, add more rice flour to it. So essentially, the ratio of rice flour to tapioca flour will affect the outcome of your noodles, right? And the reason why I'm making this more delicate today is that it's still sticking, so I might just cook it a little bit longer. The reason why I'm making it more delicate is I'm still tweaking the recipe, because I have been asked in the past, right? We Malaysians are a little bit, I guess, fussy about the textures of our noodles. When I came to Australia, and it turned out we can actually buy fresh rice noodles from Cabramatta and all these other Vietnamese or Chinese manufacturers, there are some rumblings in the Malaysian community that the noodles, the same fresh rice noodles you can get in Malaysia in dishes like Ipoh Sa Hao Fan and Penang Char Kway Teow are actually more delicate. So that's why I'm keen to kind of like experiment with the ratio of the rice flour to the tapioca flour. Basically, the more tapioca, the higher the ratio of tapioca flour to rice flour, the softer the end product would be, and vice versa, okay? Okay, let's try and scoop this out. And yeah, let me have a couple of goes at this, and then I'll update you guys on the soft-boiled eggs video I did the other day. Okay. So this is very, very soft. Here you go, if you can see it. I'm just gonna turn this up, and you want to heat this up again before you add more batter in this, right? So I'm just really putting a lot. And you'll find the more tapioca starch, the more prone it will be to sticking, okay? Because tapioca starch by its nature is basically kind of like makes things stick together. I'll just show this to you, if you can see this, right? So I'll just roll this up into a roll here, okay? And if you can see the yellow hue, it's because of the oil, because the oil I'm using is not straight out of a bottle. It's basically recycled oil from other dishes that I was using it for deep frying in. deep frying it. Okay. So this is hot. Just don't forget to stir this around a bit because the flour does settle a bit. Okay. So I'm pouring just under a ladle here, but play around. It all depends on the size of the pan you're using and also the size of your ladle obviously. And just moving it around a little bit to make sure the entire surface gets coated. Okay. When I used to work in a Chinese restaurant when I first came to Australia, this is in between high school and university. I used to work in a Yum Cha restaurant. I helped out in the kitchen a little bit, not much, but what they used to do was with making rice flour rolls was that they would have these bain-maries, right? Or it seems they look like bain-maries, but they're not. But basically the steamers would be rectangular, big, large steamers like this, and they would actually have the rice flour rolls cooked on these sheets of muslin, essentially. So you'll have like a greased muslin. They'll pour the batter on it, cover it, and then what they'll do, lift up the muslin and then just flip it over and let it peel it off slightly, and then do it again, sort of thing. But I've never had much luck doing that with muslin. You'll find some instructions actually tell you, to, and what they did in Thailand when I was over there as well at the Shangri-La was similar to what they did at the Yum Cha place. They have these steamers, smaller ones, about this diameter in size, and they would have like a piece of cloth, like muslin type cloth, wrapped very tightly around it, and they'll just pour the batter on it, cover it, and then just scrape it out. You'll see it in my videos. For those of you who don't know me, you can find me on YouTube as well, youtube.com/JackieM. That's where I've got over 240 videos, most of which are instructions on how to cook Asian food, basically. So look it up, and it will cover the recipes I did in Thailand. Okay, just turning this down. And just going to scrape it up. Okay. I have a feeling this is really going to be probably too soft, but we'll see how we go. Okay. Here's another one. And I'm going to actually replace the tray with another one. Okay, so this one's a little bit sticky and I'm having trouble scraping it off properly. Okay, let's try another tray. There's a slightly smaller one in diameter. And of course, you can use any trays you want. These ones are handy because they've got little handles at the end, right? And like I said, I picked them up in Cabramatta. They weren't too expensive, maybe about $6 each or something like that. Malaysian soft eggs, right? I mentioned during the broadcast, and after the fact, actually in the blog post that accompanied the broadcast, I mentioned, because during the broadcast I use a Thermomix to boil the eggs, to cook the eggs, right? Because it doesn't actually get to boiling point to cook the eggs. And I mentioned in my blog post that you could potentially do the same using a rice cooker or a slow cooker without turning on the cook button. Okay, if you just plug your rice cooker or your rice cooker, certainly anyway, if you just plug your rice cooker in, your standard Asian rice cooker, right, it basically defaults to keep warm setting, and the keep warm setting is actually 65 degrees Celsius. I don't know how accurate that is, but I googled it, and apparently that's the keep warm setting in rice cookers, right? So theoretically, because my instructions say to cook it at 65 degrees in a Thermomix or a thermocool, you could theoretically do the same with a rice cooker. And someone mentioned that they actually had some success doing it. They tried it out and it worked out. So well, there you go. There were a couple of attempts. The original attempt turned out a little bit weird. the original attempt, she cooked 2 eggs, and one of them turned out like this Japanese soft egg, right? Which actually was really nice, but it's not quite Malaysian soft egg. Japanese soft egg, which is a tiny bit more solid, right? And one of the other one didn't really quite turn out at all, so it was quite unusual. The following attempt, because she actually loves Japanese soft eggs, the next time she made it, it turned into those Malaysian soft eggs that I described. So it just goes to show that that Asian cooking, or Malaysian cooking at least anyway, is not a it's an art, all right? It's not a fixed science thing. So, you know, you can do the same thing under the same conditions and things will turn out a little bit different each time. And the reason for it is obviously, you know, whatever, it could be one of a million things, but, you know, nothing is really calibrated the way you would expect them to be. And it's quite funny because I've taught cooking for the longest time now, and usually when in my cooking classes, it's the men who are really fixated on measuring everything right down to the teaspoon. Okay, so guys, don't do that. It's just silly. It's just being pedantic, and it doesn't actually help. Everything, like I keep telling people, everything is agak, which basically means. Hi, Christine. Good to see you. Yes, that's right. It's chi jiang fan, right? So the way I've rolled it up is chi jiang fan. It's the same recipe as making rice noodles. So you can actually cut them into long strips, right? And then use them with any noodle dish. This one is a very delicate version. I mentioned that I'm experimenting with basically a more delicate recipe today, just because I'm always tweaking, you know, because different. There's rice noodles, right? Depending on what it's used for, sometimes we want the texture to be a little bit tougher. Okay, sometimes we want it really, really silky, soft, melt in your mouth sort of thing. Okay, so I was hoping to achieve the more silky version today, but I'm struggling a little bit because I think it does need a little bit more rice flour in it for it to be more consistently, you know, for it to hold the shape more consistently. This particular ratio of rice flour and tapioca flour today that I'm using is actually for a dumpling skin recipe from Chiang Mai in Thailand, from the Shangri-La in Chiang Mai, Shangri-La Hotel in Chiang Mai. But like I said, they did it as, you know, what they would do is make smaller circles of the dumpling skin, and then they will have pre-cooked dumpling filling, a savory dumpling filling with minced meat and a fair bit of sugar. So it's quite a sweet thing, even though it's got meat in it. And then they will actually fold it over and twirl it into a beautiful dumpling shape. It's quite unusual. But because it's so delicate, it probably might actually work for what I'm doing here. I'm just going to add a little bit more rice flour in this, right? And that way, I'm just going to add probably 2/3 of a tablespoon of rice flour here. Now, you want to eat? You want to eat it? You want to eat it? Good boy. Okay. So just mix this up a little bit more. And this Sunbeam steamer actually doubles as just a tabletop pot as well. So it's actually great for if you're making a, you know, another Asian Chinese favorite, which is steamboat. Okay. So next time you're doing steamboat, you can actually just put this in the middle of your dining table and get it plugged in. Have the soup in there, and have all the steamboat ingredients around it, and you can just dump them in. Okay, so that's one great use for this. So I've added a little bit more rice flour into this batch. Let's see how it turns out, guys. So I mentioned as well in my blog post that the way I did it the other day in the Thermomix with the soft eggs, right, was that I basically set it at 70 degrees, so a little bit elevated, but shortened the cooking time to 13 minutes. And if you saw me do it live on air, the egg yolk actually broke when I cracked it. Okay, even though I had actually tested it prior and it turned out okay. Subsequently, what I've done was actually increase the cooking time to 14 minutes, and it's been more stable. So it has turned out better, though it does mean that the egg yolk is a little bit firmer, right? Okay, so it's a little bit of tweaking, a little bit of playing around with timing, some of the ingredients. Essentially, the lower the temperature, the longer the cooking time, and vice versa. But if you were to do it at 65 degrees, you would need to cook it for probably about half an hour, 40 minutes. I think I mentioned 40 minutes. Okay, so let's take this out. So this is definitely a lot more. Certainly the color is more white anyway. And it's quite interesting, when I was in Penang, Penang is famous for a dish called char kway teow, which is also my specialty, but not the Penang version. My char kway teow is inspired by the char kway teow from my hometown of Sunbeam, which is down south, whereas Penang is up north. So there are variations to our cuisines, regional variations. But in Penang, their rice flour rolls, or the rice flour noodles, hor fun, the chichong fun, for char kway teow are cut thin. But also, not only that, they are very, very delicate, to the point where the store that I went to film and to eat at, it's a husband and wife team of selling char kway teow, and the wife's only job all day was to stand next to her husband with a mountain of noodles, right? They are already sliced up, but they're so fine and so delicate that they're stuck together. So her only job is to separate the noodles strand by strand while her husband cooks. It's really quite amazing. And it's actually, to me, it was like my favorite street side char kway teow that I had in Penang. It's in a place called Ayaritam. You look at my website, it'll tell you which place this was and all that. The difficulty about eating in Malaysia is that the best places usually are a little bit out of the way and known only to locals. So you really have to have your local connection to know where to go. Speaking of which, I might give a plug to my Malaysian tour guides. Actually, I've got a couple of friends who are tour guides on my Facebook page. One, his name is Abbas, and he's a two-time winner of Tourism Malaysia's top tour guide of the year. The other one is Aspaliza. I call her Lisa. Some people call her Aspa. And she's a fantastic tour guide as well, right? So if ever you go to Malaysia, like I said, before I used tour guides, and I used tour guides because it was actually, I was sponsored, and whoever sponsored me decided it made sense to have a guide with me. Before I used tour guides, I always thought the best way to explore a country is to do it yourself, right? But after I went with Aspaliza and subsequently Shaukani, I realized that if ever I would really want an in-depth visit of Malaysia or anywhere else, actually, because they do go out of state sometimes, but Aspaliza certainly anyway, she does go to other countries as well. The best way to get the most out of your experience of visiting Malaysia is to use a good tour guide. So hit me up if ever you want to go to Malaysia, and I'll pass on the details to you. Okay, let's see how this is looking. So the ones that were made after I added more rice flour to them, definitely fold their shape better. I'm just going to do one more, and then I'll hold it up to show you what everything looks like. And like I said, this is actually going to be our lunch. Noah, shush. You want to eat? You want to eat? And by the way, guys, I've got a very exciting announcement, right? I never say something exciting unless I actually think. I know, right, Andrew? Oh my goodness. Come and say hello. Come and say hello. Come and say hello. He doesn't want to come. He's a bit grumpy. He's hungry. Noe? Look, who's that? Look, who's that? Is that Noah? Is that Noah? Okay, look, come. He just wants to climb back up on his chair and whine about why the food is taking so long. No, shush, you want to eat? Yeah, you want to eat? Here you go. Goodbye. Yeah, okay, exciting announcement, right? I've created an account, I haven't started on it yet, at twitch.tv, right? For those of you who are gamers, and I'm not, I'm the last thing from, I've never even touched a PC game before. Twitch.tv was bought over by Amazon.com about a year or so ago, I believe. But Twitch.tv up until about that time was where a lot of the top gamers in the world would live stream their games. But since Amazon's taken over, they've basically looked at developing content, or basically opening up the platform to other creatives. Okay, so I'm in the process of actually working on developing my own show on Twitch. It's not going to be, it is live stream, so the difference is that there'll be a few more bells and whistles to it than what you currently have. Right now, I only have one camera, and every time, I know it frustrates a lot of people, especially on YouTube, because they can't see what I'm doing half the time. So these are the Noodles, guys. You can see it. Okay. And over here. Okay. So I'm going to add a few bells and whistles to my Twitch show, where I'm going to have multiple camera angles, and it will be longer shows as well. And it's going to be fully interactive. So you have to actually I'll share the links everywhere, but you would watch me on Twitch and interact with me. And like I said, because it's a longer format show, I might add some pre-recorded segments. And what I'll do is, at the end of it, I'll sit down and eat and interact with people who've got questions about Malaysian food, anything else, ask me anything. Okay, so those are the kinds of ideas I'm playing around with. There'll be like options for me to switch scenes and all that sort of stuff. So it's quite interesting, I think. Anyway, thank you guys. Have a fabulous weekend. Thanks so much for watching. And I'm going to stop this broadcast on 2 platforms, so give me a second. And I will see you next week. Ciao.